pleasure to introduce you to Meghna Joshi and her workshop on the topic Beyond Sustainability, Uniting ESG and Regenerative Leadership for Global Impact. Welcome, Meghna.
Thank you so much. It's my third consecutive year of being a part of Rice World Summit, and I really look forward to sharing my learnings with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Meghna. That's indeed a pleasure. Third year in a row. I'll give a short introduction about Meghna and hand over the floor to her. Meghna Joshi is a dedicated advocate for social impact and sustainability and the founder of SWAN Livelihood, a Delhi-based social enterprise committed to empowering the workforce through tailored training programs and workshop sessions towards sustainable livelihood opportunities. With a diverse academic background, she has earned honors in business economics and completed post-graduation in environment and development. As a Six Sigma Black Belt holder, Meghna brings over a decade of experience from the corporate, development, and startup space and serves as a mentor to various prestigious entrepreneurial platforms like Business Blaster, Mark, Atal, Tinkerpreneur, Vadhvani Foundation. With that, I now welcome Meghna and ask her to take over.
Thank you so much. And welcoming everyone to be a part of today's session, which is titled as Beyond Sustainability. And we will see how we can integrate the frameworks of regenerative impact, sustainability, ESG, and also sustainable development goals into the work that we are doing, either as a practitioner or as an educator, to bring about a global impact. And before we get started with today's session, I just want to check your vibes in terms of how are you feeling today. So if you could drop in your favorite emojis of what makes your heart sings today, that will be a very good note to begin with. So please use chat to actively communicate. There is a possibility I might not respond immediately, but yes, after the session, I would definitely take up all the queries, all the questions, all the interesting facts that you may have to share about. So, opening up the topic of regenerative impact and regeneration, when we talk about the word regeneration, what is the picture that comes to your mind? I would want you to share your responses in the chat. It could be any image or any understanding that you may have about the topic or the word regeneration, which you may want to share. You can share, use chat to share your insights on the same. Now, when I think about regeneration, this is the image that comes to my mind, wherein many years back, when we look into the picture of thousands of years back, we see people living in coexistence with Mother Nature, and in fact worshipping the five elements, which constitute the earth, the universe, which are the fire, air, water, uh, the earth. But today there has been a widening gap, and the widening gap we have seen in the form of the recent aftermath of COVID, wherein it was declared as a global emergency. uh, we have been seeing a lot of catastrophes in the form of increasing climatic variations, and also ecosystems getting cut down, because urban belts are being built on it. So the picture of before, many years before, wherein human lived in coexistence with the planet, the mother nature, and now there has been a wide contrast. And this is the contrast, this is the journey of regeneration, wherein we have seen a rising separation that is happening. Initially, 10,000 years back, there was a connection wherein people used to coexist with nature, people used to live with nature, people used to worship nature. And now we have seen a rising separation. The separation in the form of not just being materialistic but also thriving and exploiting on the resources of our planet. And the separation that we have seen, at the moment in the present times, the consequences of the separation we are also seeing in the recent years in the form of the major catastrophe COVID pandemic, and also in the form of rising climatic variation and ecosystems being cut down, pollutions, waste which is not being, getting under control. So this rising separation calls for an age of regeneration, and this is the reconnection wherein we will try to be more integrated in our approach of creating not just a sustainable planet but also through our eco-friendly habits, so that we are able to thrive and also create a planet which is sustainable for our future generations to also thrive. So this the entire concept of living in coexistence with our planet opens up the discussion of sustainability. And sustainability, as the word and the topic and the thematic, came from the 1987 Brundtland Report, which is the Our Common Futures. And sustainability as a thematic in itself talk about how can we meet the needs of the present without compromising on the abilities of our future generations. So, in the recent times, we have seen how much we have exploited our planet. The consequences of the same we are seeing continuously in the form of variations, in the form of diseases, in the form of, you know, the uncertain conditions and the times that, today our planet has been experiencing. And, the entire concept of sustainability builds further on these three parameters, which is how can we create an ecological balance, how can we maintain social equity, and how can we, uh, you know, create a growth which is sustainable, a growth which takes our economy from the developing to a developed nation, and also brings parity amongst the people in general. So let us discuss these three parameters in the details in the further next few slides. Now, when we talk about ecological balance, these are the pictures that we are seeing in the present day time. The foam in the Yamuna River, the garbage getting collected or being thrown by people around along the roadside, which is traveling with us, wherever we are moving in the city. Also, the various climatic disturbances that we are seeing in the form of torrential rainfalls, which every year affects the Himalayan belt. So, these pictures really make us question in terms of the fact that are we really living in a ecosystem which is ecologically balanced? Are we taking out steps to ensure that there is a balance that we are creating where we are thriving in the ecosystem that we are thriving? The second parameter is on social equity. On a daily basis, you may have seen these faces which are very familiar. We see children begging on streets. We see slum clusters coming up on a daily basis. We see people, there is half a section of population which is still in poverty. If these are the faces that we are seeing on a daily basis, can we really say that we are, uh, you know, we are able to maintain parity in our social actions and the equality that we are talking about? Now, the third parameter of economic growth. Recently, the budget has been declared and the figures may have got changed, but every year we have been seeing issues related to fiscal deficit, the inflation, the variations in the foreign exchange reserves, and also the industrial growth that we are talking about. So, considering the snapshots and the figures and the facts of the recent past years, are we really can we really say that we are moving towards a developed nation from a developing economy? So these all questions, you know, further take us to the approaches of sustainability. And the first approach talks about the triple bottom line approach, which was a concept that was coined by John Elkington, and it really opens up the framework of people, planet, profit, particularly for the industries, because initially, due to the advent of industrial revolutions, we saw how the industries were just focusing on profits while compromising and polluting the ecosystem. The people, planet, profit approach really talks about the fact that are we, you know, creating an environment conducible for the people to thrive on this planet while generating profits through the work that we are doing. And this approach is equally important because our systems are connected. If there is any stress in any part of the ecosystem is going to crumble. And this is something that we have also been seeing recently. We have people working in industries, political domain, in the financial sector. We see us human beings working really hard day in and day out to maintain a living, and it is ultimately the ecosystems that are supporting us. Now industry is ruining the ecosystem, polluting the ecosystem, people working in the industries getting stressed out and ultimately moving into the depressions. All of them are a sign that the systems are not in a balanced state. They are in a disbalanced, they are disbalanced, and any stress in any of the systems will lead to problems like the the scenarios of pollution, health-borne diseases, mental status of people getting into depressions, um, taking therapies, and so on. So, since it's important for not an individual, not even an individual, but the entire ecosystem to realize how can we exist in coherence with one another so that there is an overall balance, because it is ultimately the earth in which we are thriving. And the recent scenarios we have seen how the disbalance has led to a serious problems in the form of diseases, or maybe in the form of various variations that we are seeing in and out. So the concept of sustainability further opens our discussion on ESG, which is environmental, social and governance framework, which was first used in 2004 in the Who Care Wins report. And the ESG as a tool which is increasingly being adopted by the companies, measure the company's worth around people, planet and profit. The government has also made it a mandate for the Fortune 500 top 150 countries based on their market capitalization to adopt ESG framework to uh, showcase how are they adhering to the environmental, how are they adhering to creating a balance in the environment, also taking into account the social parameters in the form of empowering the communities or maybe their own labor force while maintaining transparency in the ecosystem. So, when we talk about ESG as a framework, the environmental framework largely talks about the company's impact on the planet. and that may include the carbon footprint, the resource usage by the company, and also how is it how is the company managing its waste? Is it really polluting the environment, or has it deciphered a way to create a balance, uh, to exist in balance with nature and to contribute towards nature? The social aspect of ESG talks about how is company managing its relationship with not just employees but also the labor force who come from the underprivileged background. How is it and what is it doing to empower the communities? And these days we have seen a lot of industries, you know, creating a real impact through the CSR funds that they have by empowering the communities who are living in a really backward area to maybe creating employment opportunities for the underprivileged, or maybe uh, by setting up schools and facilities in the areas which are deprived of it. So the social parameter talks about empowering communities and also how can we take the communities forward, and reduce the balance between the rich and the poor. The governance parameter, the G aspect, talks about how fair is the company in terms of the audit, its internal controls and the shareholder rights. Basically, it talks about the transparency that the company is maintaining in terms of, its leadership and the execution of the tasks that it is carrying forward. Now, the parameter of ESG needs to be further integrated into the 17 sustainable development goals that have been proposed by the United Nations. And when we segregate, or when we further integrate the sustainable development goals into the ESG framework, uh, these are the various goals that we can see. The SDG 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 falling under the environmental impact. So, any of the impact that you are either creating as an individual or through your organization's processes or activities or initiatives can be integrated further into the sustainable development goals. Similarly, for the social aspect of empowering communities, maybe your actions of bringing people out of poverty, or maybe uh, working towards gender equality, or maybe creating situations of or maybe employment opportunities leading to decent work and economic growth. That could be uh, your choice of bringing the social parameter into the picture of further empowering the communities. And the governance aspect, wherein actively we have recently seen how companies are actively partnering with one another to create ripples of impact and to create chains of global impact. So goal number 17 talks about partnerships for goals, and lately we have seen until and unless we collaborate, there is less likely chance that we will be able to succeed, because at the end of it, seclusion is not the key to success. It's the inclusion that will bring everybody together. Now, ESG is also important for organizations because it looks into the systematic risks that the companies are facing. Also, increasingly, we have seen investors showing a lot of interest on the companies which are abiding by the ESG parameters. It sets a regulatory action in place for the company to not just look into the profits but also the well-being of the communities, their employees, and also uh, the environment in which it is existing. And also we have seen recently that there has been changing expectations from not just the stakeholders but also from the government's end, and the government has been making it a mandate for the ESG framework to be integrated into the um, into the functioning of how the company is operating. Now, this is specifically for the college students because recently I have seen that a lot of college students have been inquiring in terms of the kind of educational opportunities that they should pursue in order to, get into the stream or maybe become an ESG practitioner. So, you may take any of the stream, be it science, social sciences, or, do any specialized courses in the sustainability space. You may also be from the social background. You may also have, a degree in development or maybe an environmental economics, or maybe you can be from the science background. You may have pursued any domain related to agriculture, renewable energy, environment, etc. uh, any degree that you may take will create a specialization for you either in the environmental space or in the social space or in the governance space. So depending upon the area that you would want to get into and the area which you are passionate about, um, it will be ideal that you choose your degree. Also, the various profiles that you can look for and which have been coming up recently uh, can be of ESG researcher, sustainability manager, or a CSR manager, social impact researcher, also supply chain specialist. Social entrepreneurship is also a part of this space. And there are a lot of certifications in the form of Lead Green Associates, GRES Assessment Training, CFA, ESG Investing, GRI Standard Certifications, GRIHA certifications, ISO 14001, etc., which you can pursue to further create your specialization in the space that is of your choice or that is of your interests. So, it's all about your journey of navigating from taking insights from nature to integrating it into your business insights and then diving deeper to see what kind of impact are you making as an individual or as an organization. And with this, I end my today's discussion on how can we further integrate the concepts of regenerative impact to the sustainable you know to the sustainability practices that we are pursuing, to the ESG frameworks which the companies can adopt by integrating them into the sustainable development goals. And in the end, I would like to quote the famous quotation by Mahatma Gandhi ji, wherein he said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." You can take actions as either as an individual or as an industry in general, but until and unless you take any action, or it is the first step that you take will really count or will really matter. We will end this discussion today over here, but this is not our last interaction. You can connect with me anytime on our social media handles and otherwise on LinkedIn, and we can carry forward this discussion and also try to integrate it in the form of and in the shape of any projects that we are working on. Thank you so much, and I